What is up, Keller Williams agents? It is me, Sam Jackson, the Director of Innovation Technology for the amazing Georgia Legacy Group. And today, I'm going to walk you through the 3 buckets of online leads. Have you ever seen on a social media post, or maybe yourself have even had this thought, man, I hear all these things about Facebook leads. I hear that they're dirt cheap, that I can get them for really inexpensive cost, and yet they're not any good. I would challenge you today that it's not that they're necessarily not good. It's that we have to challenge the way that we think. We have to understand how online leads work. It's no different than in the physical world. Whenever I call a for sale by owner or expired, these are folks who are interested in real estate, and yet they have very different objections. The script I use with an expired would not work with the same that I'm doing with a for sale by owner. And I think part of the issue with online leads is that we don't understand how they work. So I'm going to walk you through today in what I call the 3 buckets of online leads. And hopefully this will change any misconceptions that y'all have with Facebook leads, Google leads, and even the search website leads like a Zillow or a KW.com. So let me walk you through that now. All right, our first bucket number 1, is what we call your home searching websites or your listing search websites. Now, Sam, what does that mean? I'm talking about your Zillows. I'm talking about your Redfins, your Compass.coms, your KW.com, your KW app. But these are the websites and the resources like a Realtor.com that your consumers go to in order to go look at houses. Now, we understand that people who hit these websites, by nature, again, there's going to be some outliers with each of these 3 buckets, but in nature, they have done the research. They have done the most research in the amount of the process they've been through. So they've probably narrowed down what school district they want to go to, maybe even decided what elementary school that they want their kids to grow up into. They maybe know what kind of cul-de-sac or which cul-de-sac they want to live in. They're at the point that they're just kind of picking out their houses. They've done so much research. And in fact, we know that they've done probably at least 3 to 6 or maybe even more months of research before getting to the point to where they show up as a lead on these websites. So what's great about these leads and why we hear a lot of agents still advertise on these websites like a Zillow or a Realtor.com is because we know that the time it takes to take one of these leads and convert them into a closing is a relatively small window. Now, that's a good and a bad thing because we know that there's a cost there. On some of the more traditional advertising routes of those websites, you're typically paying for a zip code and you're spending somewhere between, depending on your area in the country, it may be a couple $100 a month, it may be a couple $1,000s a month, depending on how many listings hit that market and what price point. So it's really expensive. This has also been an updated model that we're no longer talking about a flat fee to own a zip code, but we're also talking about maybe 30 to 35% of your commission. And by the way, those websites still own that lead for another 2 years in some cases. So the second that person buys with you, guess what? You're still competing against those searching websites the next day. So there's some challenges, but the good news is like those leads do move quickly. Now, how do we get them? They go to our website, so they go to the website that we're advertising on, and they're searching for a home. They find the listing that they want, and they hit the schedule a tour button, and they come in contact with you. So the scripts are pretty easy for us as real estate agents. Naturally, this is almost the same as getting a buyer lead from an open house. I'm starting to pre-qualify them. I want to know what it is they're looking for. I'm going to figure out what their features and their benefits. I'm going to ask the questions if they're working with an agent or they're pre-qualified, the things that you normally do with a physical lead in the real world. I think this is why a lot of agents tend to like these leads because they're familiar. The other 2 buckets are a little bit more complicated. I'm going to walk you through those next. But bucket number 1, that's your home searching or your home listing websites. The ones that you're familiar with, the ones that you should be kind of promoting to your KW app or KW website to get the best ROI on them. Bucket number 2, this is my Goldilocks. This is the one that I've always loved as someone with a marketing background. This is Google. This is, to be fair, we'll bring in Bing, we'll bring in whatever searching website, but this is your true search engine websites. Now let's be real, it's Google. People are going to Google and they're typing in homes for sale and wherever it is that you're possibly advertising or your target area, your farm. Now, what's cool about these is that we know this lead's intent. We know that they are physically taking time out of their day to go onto their computer, to go on Google and type in homes for sale in, best school districts in, listings in, find me a realtor in. But they're kind of waving their hand and they're saying, hey, look at me. I have a need. And now what I love about this space online is that they are relatively cheap, not nearly as cheap as social media, but pretty darn close. So in terms of our ROI, they're pretty inexpensive. In terms of competition, even better. Because we know that if somebody is searching on Google for find me a realtor or find me the best homes in whatever town, we know that they probably don't have representation. I'm going to say probably because there may be some cases, but we know that this is the best time to get these leads because they're just now starting their journey of looking for a home. They're going to Google and typing in find me a home in whatever area. Now, what's great about that is they're unrepresented. They're relatively inexpensive. You ultimately get to decide the budget there. So for me, traditionally, I spend somewhere between $50 a month and $200 a month. If I had a maximum budget, I love that $200 to $250 range. That's the sweet spot for me. It always has been. But the catch is, it's up to a really, really good quality website to do the capturing. It's a 1-2 punch. Because Google doesn't have just a contact form like you see with your home searching websites or what we'll talk about next with Facebook. So the challenge is I must have a very, very sticky website that captures leads for me. It's a 1-2 punch. We get cheap, unrepresented leads, but I have to have a strong website. But think about this. Let's just say that you check off both of those boxes. You're advertising on Google and you have a strong website. When somebody searches homes for sale in the market that you're looking at, what assumptions can we make about them? This person is gathering their information. They have no idea where it is. Maybe they're looking to live or what their needs are. They're really, really starting their journey. So you as an agent, this is an excellent opportunity. You're getting them into your sales funnel, your sales pipeline, whatever you want to call it, your process, very early on. And you're forming a relationship with them and educating them. So for those like of you that came from an education background or you perform more of the educational style of selling real estate, this is probably a great lead that you want to work with because you're educating them on the process, you're educating them on the local area. This is your opportunity to be the local expert. And like I said, relatively cheap in this space, you decide the budget ultimately, and there's not a lot of competition. In fact, when you're advertising on these spaces, you're most likely competing against other companies and brokerages, more so than you are than other agents on that space. So that's bucket number 2, which is your home or not your home, your search engine websites, your Googles. Bucket number 3 is what I call social media. And I'm gonna use Facebook, but just know when I say Facebook, I also mean Instagram, I mean Twitter, I mean TikTok, I mean whatever you might be using these days for social media. But specifically in my mind, I'm gonna talk about a paid Facebook ad because that's what we're seeing a lot of success with Command. And in fact, I've run several campaigns myself personally, have got leads for well under $2. I think the last one I ran was at $1.21 per lead. That's a huge win. I've even helped brand new agents who just joined our office that week that had a listing. We got leads for 25 cents. That's incredible. Now here's the catch. We're getting them really, really cheap, but what is a Facebook lead? This is a person who is literally going after that dopamine dump. They are just scrolling through their Facebook feed, thumbing through their profiles. They go, ooh, look, a pretty house, and they become a lead. Nobody ever went to Facebook with the intention that I'm going to go click on ads because I want to go look at houses. So I think often the misconception or the myth understanding that we say a lot inside of KW is that these are bad leads. When I call them, they have no idea who I am. I would go to bat to say that this is probably a scripting issue. If you're getting a lead from Facebook, somebody who doesn't even they're not even sure that they clicked on an ad, and you're saying, hey, this is Sam Jackson with Keller Williams. I saw that you clicked on my ad on Facebook for 123 Main Street. It's a really hot market. If you want to go look at it, we got to look at today. And then they hang up on you because they think you're crazy. You have to remember, they're looking for a dopamine dump. They had no intention of going to social media to go look at houses. They happened to grab the bait that you had put out there, and they don't even know necessarily they clicked on an agent. They don't necessarily know that they clicked on a brokerage. They just kind of clicked and they were looking at pictures. Remember, we're in the consumer world right now. Because of Netflix and Amazon and Facebook, we are just hitting the jackpot. We are scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and there's no stopping it. Sometimes we're not even aware of doing it. And that's where we have to be very, very mindful as real estate agents. When you get a Facebook lead, your approach has to change. Just like how I'm calling it for sale by owner and an expired listing with a completely different script, this is where a different script comes in place for Facebook leads. You gotta chill, take a chill pill. Speed to lead is important. Consistency is super important. Don't give up after 3 calls. The goal here is that we have to probably automate our follow-up or be prepared to have a very long follow-up, but it's gonna be awesome. So here's a great script for you. If you get a Facebook lead, and let's just say that you're using a listing as bait, or content rather, I would say, hey, this is Sam Jackson with Keller Williams. I happen to be posting an ad on Facebook, for a property that I have in my area, let's just say Roswell, Georgia, you happen to click on it, and I know you're probably not interested in looking at that property today, but I was just curious. Why'd you click on it? And be silent. Let them talk. Because just like when you walk into your favorite department store and you get hit by a salesperson, it's our natural inclination to say, oh, I'm just looking. Same thing with Facebook. They didn't go to Facebook look for houses. They're just looking. So sit there and listen. If they say, you know what, I don't even know what I clicked on. Hey, that's great. It's okay. I just happen to be running an ad for targeting, buyers for my listing inside of the Roswell, Georgia market. And you happen to come across a lead. So are you looking at houses? But leave these as open-ended and continues your probe. You're good at this. You're a real estate agent. If you're not good at this, that's a skill we can work on to increase your conversion. Get into proximity coaching. That's a pitch for all you PCs out there. But this is a skill that you can learn to just asking better questions and changing your expectations. If you think this is going to be a hot lead ready to go look at houses today on the market, that's where I think we have this disconnect that Facebook leads are trash. I don't want to hear that. There's no such thing as a bad lead. If you have good contact information, good email, and a good telephone number, it's not that they're a bad lead. You're maybe bad at follow-up. Maybe you don't have systems at follow-up. Think about that. My name is Sam Jackson. I appreciate you listening to me rant about the 3 buckets today. I hope you enjoy this. I hope this brings some perspective as to how we need to treat these very, very different. The online world is no different than the physical world. We need different scripts for different needs. I challenge you. Don't say that there's a such thing as a bad lead. Challenge the way that you're asking your questions to those leads. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, leave it a big thumbs up. Give me a like. If you really enjoyed the content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And I appreciate y'all. Thank you. And as always, we didn't talk about today, but stay in command. Thank you.